Hi my little shardies, welcome and welcome back. I hope you had a fabulous week. Today I'm going to be doing an image in Mythographic Color and Discover Wild Winter by Joseph Catimbang. For a full flip through of this book, you can check out this link right here. Just pause the video and come back when you're done. And as always, if you like what you see, make sure you hit like and subscribe and turn on that notification so you're told each and every time I post a new video. Alright, let's get this thing started. Alright, the image I'm going to do today is this peacock. I do have a piece of chipboard behind the page just to give it a little bit more support as I color. Okay, I'm going to start with electric blue. I think I'm going to do like the lightest area in here. So that's where I'm going to be putting this. And I'm just going to put my first layer down real lightly. Kind of like that. We can go back in and add details at any time, so starting lightly is a great way to do it. It's actually a little bit darker than this on camera. All right, and now I'm going to pull in some non-photo blue, which is PC919. I'm just going to kind of go to the edges of where I did here, kind of a little bit of the ones that I already colored with the other blue. And I'm kind of building out from that. I'm going to use PC 1100, which is China blue. And now 906 Copenhagen. I know it's a little ugly when you first start and you put your first layer on, and that's okay, and it's completely normal for that to happen. But you have to get some color down on the paper. And then let it start working for you. I'm going to bring my China blue in, and I'm going to do up here on his head too. And now I'm going to bring in some 933 Violet blue. And I'm going to get under his neck here. And I'm getting the very like outside of him, that color too. All right, I'm going to come in again with the 919 non-photo blue. And I'm going to go a little darker on this bottom layer. And I'm kind of going into some of the darker areas, because in the end I want it to blend really nice. And now I'm going to come in with the electric blue again, 1040. The China blue, go right into that. .906 Copenhagen. And the violet blue, which is 933. Alright, what I'm going to do in this middle area now is I still think there's going to be some shadows and whatnot, so I'm going to go ahead and add some shadows under a few of these really lighter ones. Sorry, my cat's making in it. Bella. Hello. Sorry about that, interrupted by my fur baby. So I'm just going to add a little bit of what would be shadow. I know this looks like a hot mess right now. I'm sorry about that. And in these darker areas, I'm going to use the 933 Violet blue. I'm just going to add some darker areas. Okay, you can keep adding colors, but I'm going to grab my trusty old blender pencil. If you keep adding layers, eventually you can get this to fade in together. But I'm kind of cheating for the purposes of speeding up this video. I'm going to use this blender pencil. Now once you use the blender pencil, you won't be able to add too many layers on top, so keep that in mind. Also, you'll know if it's kind of scratchy when you do it and doesn't kind of glide over the paper, that you need to add another layer. There's not enough pigment. The difference is amazing. Okay, now you can come back in, do 933, and you can kind of give it a little bit of darker spots if you'd like to do that, to kind of give it a little bit of shadow and kind of like a 3D effect. You don't want to go too dark with your shadow color. You only want to go like 1 or 2 above the lightest color. So if you were going to come into this middle here and your lightest color was the non-photo blue 919, I'm going to use the 1040 electric blue. And again, it's not really letting me add any additional colors down because I've already smoothed it out. I'm going to take some Indathrone blue PC208 and I'm going to try to add a little bit more, a little darker on this neck area. Alright, I'm going to take some 935, which is black, and I'm going to put a little bit of that under the neck too. In the reference photos I've looked at, a lot of them have black necks. Alright, now I'm going to come in with some PC901 Indigo Blue. Again, around the face there's a lot of black, but I don't want to put straight black down there because I don't want it to be a completely solid color. So I'm going to add some of this indigo blue. And then I'm going to do a light layer of black over top of it. And I'm pressing a little harder when I'm jumping what would look like a layer. So I want this to be like a top layer and this to be a layer underneath of that. So I want to give it a little bit of depth. So here I put darker shadows in. And I'm going to go back in with my 901 Indigo Blue. And now I'm going to press a little harder. I've also noticed that this is one of the only colors in Prismacolor where if you use a blending pencil, it turns the color of the indigo blue to like a lighter shade of blue, which is not necessarily what I want, but I'm probably going to do it anyway. So I'm hoping that the black kind of helps keep that a darker shade. Then on the nose, I'm just going to put a little bit of black very lightly. I'm barely touching the paper. And then right up around the eye on the bottom, I'm going to put a little bit of black there. feel like you have to have a pretty sharp pencil to be able to get in that little spot there. Take our blender pencil. I'm going to throw in the beak just a little tiny bit of lavender, and I'm going to go like across the bottom area of the beak here, and a little on the top. And then I'm going to come in with some 1068 10% French Gray. And I'm blending right into that lavender color. And I'm going to add a little bit of this French Gray right here. And then a little bit here. I'm still leaving a little bit of white. And we're going to come in with some 50% French Gray, 1072. And I'm going to add some of that right in this beak here. I'm going to come back in again with the 934 Lavender, and I'm just going to darken up a little bit of that. And again, my 1068 French Gray, 10%, and I'm kind of blending it all together. And then I'm going to come in with my 935. And I'm just kind of darken up that area between the beak. All right, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit because I feel like it might be a little too far away. I don't want it to become pixelated. All right, what I think I'm going to do is keep like this area toward the top, like on his back, like purple, and then bring it down into a blue. So I'm going to use my darkest purple right now, which is PC132 Dioxine Purple Hue. And now I'm going to come in with PC932, which is Violet. And I'm going to come in with 208 Indathrone. And I'm going to blend right into that blue, trying to keep the edges of the feathers into consideration here. I'm going to come in with my violet blue 933. I'm going to come in with my Copenhagen blue. China blue, which is 1100. Down here, I'm going to start with the China blue. PC1040 electric blue. And I'm probably going to leave it at that. I'm probably not going to add a later shade. Again, you can keep blending by going over the previous color with the lightest color. And as you can see in that spot right there, that is how you would blend it by hand, just adding layers. But I'm going to go in with my trusty blender pencil 1077, and I'm going to go in the direction of the feathers. All right, I'm going to take some 935 Black, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that where the feathers are coming this way and then going this way, just to differentiate between those two areas. Again, I'm going to put a little there. And then along this area here. And I have like a little piece missing right here, so I'm just going to randomly grab a color. We're going to do a PC933 And throw that in there. And I'm just going to follow that, since I didn't have that color down here, along that line of black. I'm going to throw a little bit of that here too. Right, I think I really like the way that's turning out. So let me zoom out just a little bit. That is what we have so far. All right, now I'm going to try to work on this area here with the little round circles. I did kind of look at a couple of examples online. Let me zoom in some. All right, I think I'm going to start with 1006 Parrot Green. And I'm going to throw that into each of the spots. I'm going to take a little more care coloring this area. So I'm going to throw that in there for the moment. And I think I'm going to do like some lighter greens on this outside. And I think I'm going to stick to like maybe like teals and blues type colors up here. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to do the same thing. All right, we're going to start with that, and then I'm going to come in those areas and I'm going to add 905 Aquamarine. All right, and now I'm going to go back in again with the 1006 Parrot Green, and I just want to make sure that bottom part is a little more greener than the Aquamarine. So I'm putting a heavier layer down there. I'm trying to figure out what this is here, so I'm just going to try to isolate around it and hopefully it will come to the forefront and I'll figure out how I'm supposed to color it. I think that's what you have to do with pictures that are pretty detailed. Sometimes you're not automatically going to know exactly what something is. Alright, I'm going to add a little bit of 912 apple green into the bottom over here. I'm just going to kind of blend it into the colors that I've already put down. And then I'm going to come over here and on the end here do the same thing. I think right here might be some feathers. Alright, I'm just going to go with it like it is, and then I'll add some of the parrot green. Alright, I think I'm going to add in some of the 906 Copenhagen blue that we did over here, and I'm just going to do that a little bit here, just to add a little bit of interest. And I realize I'm not being super neat. One, this picture is pretty small. These details are pretty small. I'm zoomed in quite a bit on my camera. And two, I'm going to be using my colorless blender instead of blending it by hand because it's so small. Alright, now I'm going to come in with my blender pencil. And I'm going to kind of blend that out a little bit. I think that looks really, really cool. Alright, now let's work on these. I haven't fully figured out how I want to do these. So I think I'm going to do one on camera, and then I'll do the rest off camera so this video doesn't get too long. So if you're following along after I do the first one, just pause when it's done, and then you can do the rest of your leaves and then come back. Alright, I think I'm going to come in first. I think I'm going to do marine green 988 on like the stem part. And somewhat into the little feathers outside here. like the darker part of the feathers. You can tell what the darker parts are supposed to be because they're a little more shaded than the line art part. And that's where I'm putting this green. Okay, so the core of this pencil is broke. Every time I press on it, it wiggles, so I'm going to try to keep working with it, but it's probably going to pop off at any second. All right, I think now I'm going to use some of the Parrot green, and I'm going to come around this outside area right here. And then I'm going to jump to the inside. And the darkest area on the inside, I'm going to do 901 Indigo Blue. And then I'm going to use Electric Blue. And then I think I'm going to bring in some of this 934 Lavender. And let's do some, and some 1019 Rosy Beige. I don't know if I like, it's not quite, it's kind of like too browny. It's beige Hannah. And I'm just putting another layer now. And I'm going to take that electric blue, and that's what I'm going to do on this little center part too. And then I'm going to come back with indigo blue again, and I'm going to darken up this middle piece. And like I did over here, I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of black there. Just darken it up just a little bit. All right, and now I think I'm going to pull in a little bit of Artichoke, which is 1098, and I'm going to put that right alongside of the other one, the other shade of green we have there. And then I think I'm going to go like really crazy, and I usually wouldn't do this, but I'm going to. 989 Chartruse. I'm going to go ahead and add that, kind of to the edges a little bit, just to make it, I don't know, a little bit more vibrant. I feel like peacocks are like really super colorful, and they have a lot of variations in their feathers, and I want to go ahead and throw a little bit of that lighter green in there. I know these colors don't necessarily go together, but kind of like it. All right, I'm going to go in again with that artichoke. And then I think I'm going to add in some 912 apple green, and I'm just going to kind of go over that a little bit. I'm not going everywhere, I'm just kind of adding some in. All right, I'm gonna hold this up so you guys can, it looks a little different in person than it does on here. It's not as like yellowy. And I'm just gonna come in one more time with my Parrot green, and I'm gonna just kind of clean this up a little bit. Come in with that purple again. And you can choose to blend all this out if you'd like. If you don't want to and you just want to leave it a little bit of texture, you can go ahead and leave it the way it is. I'm really lightly going to blend it just a little bit. I don't want to press too hard because at some point you're going to have to add some shadows, and the paper in this book, it doesn't take much before you can't add more layers. All right, so now I'm going to come by and I am going to add some of those shadows now. So I'm going to take the 988 Vert Green, I'm sorry, Marine Green, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow along the stem. And then around the really pretty piece of the feather right up here. And then underneath or alongside of this side here. So that way as you go ahead and build it up, or the other leaves that are around it, sorry, the other feathers that are around it. And I would say, like, you don't have to have everything exactly the same. If you want to play around a little bit, add a little bit of color in some and not the others, you can totally do that. So don't think because you did this leaf like this that every leaf has to look exactly the same. I'm going to take just a little bit of black now, and very lightly, I'm barely going to touch the paper. I'm just going to try to darken that green up just a little bit. All right, So I'm going to finish the rest of this and I'll be back in just a minute. Let me zoom out to show you what we have so far. And we're just going to keep taking it around. So I'll be back when that's done, so give me just a couple of minutes. I'll be back when we're done, so go ahead and pause this video, finish your leaves, and come back. See you in a minute. Alright, I went ahead and finished all the leaves that I saw. And that is what I've come up with so far. This is the first one I did right here. I went ahead and took a little more care in these. I went a little slower, did the same color combinations, but I didn't do that blue line as thick. And I think it actually looks a little bit better. But I did the same color combination on the leaves. And now we're going to work on this. I think it's a big snowflake in the background. So I think I'm going to choose grays to do that with, to kind of make it look a little bit like silver. And then we can do these snowflakes in the front like a light blue. I think that's what I'm going to wind up doing. Gonna zoom in on an area, I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll move on to completing the entire image and then come back and we'll do another part of it, because I don't think you guys need to watch me do this entire background. It's taking a little bit longer than I was expecting, so I don't want this video to be like 4 hours long. Alright, I'm gonna work on this area in the background here, right here, so I can show you guys how to do this, or how I'm doing it anyway. And I'm going to use some cool grays. So I'm going to use PC1060 20% cool gray, 1061 30% cool gray, 1063 50% cool gray, 1065 70% cool gray, and 1067 90% cool gray. And I'm going to start with my 70%. And I'm just going to go into these areas where it looks like he's got some shading already. And I'm going to put that 70% there. I'm not really pressing down super hard. I'm just getting a little bit of color down. I'm not going to do this little part right here on this either. I'm just going to go around that. And I'm not going to do this spot right here because I think that's like feathers off his head. But I do want to do what should be like, I think it's a snowflake in that background. So kind of be careful with these feathers coming off of his head there. If you have to, do everything around it, like, you know, don't stop right around here and work your way into that area. Or start to, you know, save this spot for last, or do this first before you attempt to do that. That way you can see what you're doing. You don't accidentally color it like the background. Accidentally pressed a little hard there. You're probably going to want to make sure your pencil's a little on the sharp side because this is extremely detailed. For the small part you have to kind of shade with these grays. Alright, I think that's enough to get the general idea. I'm going to come in here and I'm not going to do everything just yet with this, but I'm going to take the 1067 90% cool gray and just like around this part right here, I'm going to add that because I really want to be able to see that this is a piece above that. So I'm kind of making it dark in the spot underneath of that so it really stands out. I'm just adding a little bit of the darker in the corners or at the very start. Just to make it pop a little bit more, give it some contrast. When I first started this image, I didn't think it was going to be so time consuming. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to shorten some of it up by doing stuff off camera. Alright, I'm going to come in again with my 70%, which is 1065, and hit up a couple of these areas that I missed. Again, be super careful around the head feathers. Because that is not what we're trying to color right now. I'm also not going to color these right now. I'm just working on any of the spots that have the little circles. I'm sorry, ovals. Alright. I'm going to come in with my 1060 20% print, 20% cool gray. I'm just going to throw a little bit of color in there. And if your pencil's not quite ready to be sharpened yet, and you can't get the smaller areas, then just kind of put your base coat on the larger areas first. And you might be able to hold off sharpening your pencil for a little bit while you do that. Alright, that's good enough for the moment. I'm going to come in with my 50%, which is 1063. And if you're comfortable right now doing around the feathers, I would put a little bit of that around to kind of give it some separation. And I'm going to come right out from the darker areas. I don't want to go too far because I also want to put a little on the outside edge there. I'm just going to keep working this until it looks like something that I like. So I'm going to come back in with my 70%, which is 1065. Like up here, I'm going to add a little bit where I missed. And now I'm going to come in with a little bit of 30%. I'm kind of going right around the areas that I put the 50%. Trying to blend it a little bit. I think this is definitely taking a little bit of patience. So if you get discouraged and you need to walk away for a little while and come back, go ahead and do that. See how this area is like kind of building up now? Alright, so I'm going to come in on the inside of that one now, and I'm going to take 1065, 70%. And then I'm going to come in with 1061, which is 30%. And that's how I'm going to do that. And I'm going to keep working on all of this type of, I guess, snowflake all around this picture, and I'll come back when I'm done and show you what I do. But that's basically what I'm going to be doing, and you can just keep adding until it looks the way you want it to look. Like if it's not okay yet and you still feel like you need to add a little bit more, then go ahead and do that. I will tell you that when you get to areas like over here, you're going to want to put something a little darker there because you really want this to stand out. You don't want it to look like one solid flat plane. So if you put a little bit of shadows there, that will help separate the two colors. Alright, I have finished the background as far as that big snowflake, and I think what we're going to do now is work on this part here. So I'm going to use the 901 Indigo Blue. Let me zoom in. .901 Indigo Blue, and I'm going to go with these darker parts here first. And some of these spots are going to be too small unless you have a really, really sharp point. And now I'm going to go in with Copenhagen Blue, which is 906. I'm not coloring the full thing on some of these, because I'm going to do kind of like a gradient, kind of like what we did on the feathers down below. And now I'm going to bring in my China Blue, PC1100. And then we'll do 1040 Electric Blue. Right, and then I think I'm going to use some 935 Black, and really lightly I'm going to go over the spots closest to its head, just to kind of darken that up a little bit. And then I'll go back over it again with the Indigo Blue 901. Now you can choose to leave it like this or blend it out. It is up to you. That is what mine looks like. And I think it looks really good. So I'm going to leave it like that. And now I'm going to do the snowflakes. As you can see, I kind of did one right here. I think I'm going to leave it like this and then put on a little bit of glitter glue to give it some sparkle. So I'm going to show you what I did on that snowflake on this one right here. I outlined it first with the 1040 Electric Blue. Actually, let me check this. Yeah. When I was doing the rest of it, as you can tell, I took some black and I threw some shadows in there already to kind of make it pop a little off the page. I didn't want it to blend in with the background. You can do that if you want. It's just how I chose to do mine. There is no right or wrong way to color. I'm sure I could do this way more technical than I'm doing it, but I think I'm going to leave it like that. Anytime I get an opportunity to throw a little glitter glue in there, I do. I'm going to take 1087 powder blue, and I'm just going to color in the middle. And it looks a little faded on this one, so I think I'm also going to go back in some China Blue, which is PC 1100. And that's what I'm going to do on the other snowflakes. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Alright, I finished all the snowflakes and now we have one last component. That is this, and I'm going to do that over on the other side here. I don't know if that was supposed to be like crystal or whatever, but I wanted to go with the leaves on the background, so that's how I'm doing this piece. After we get done this, we can do the actual background. I think I'm going to be doing that with pan pastels just to make it quicker. I also think I'm going to bring this greenish area into these areas up here on the top of this that we haven't used yet, just to kind of tie it all in together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use 913 Spring Green, and I'm just lightly going to put a first layer down on everything. I know that's not typically the way you would do it, but I'm not pressing real hard, so you should be able to add layers on top of it. And then I'm going to go in with my 988 Marine Green. And I'm going to kind of do it like the opposite way as I did that. So I'm going to put it on this side here and a little bit there. I know it doesn't look pretty, guys. It's okay. And now I'm going to go with Spring Green 913. I'm going to add a layer over top of that. I'm going to leave the middle kind of with not much on it because I'm going to put my lighter shade of green on that. So you get a little bit of the yellow. I know this video has been short, but I'm about, I don't know, 9 or 10 hours into this. So my hand's getting a little tired. So now I'm going to add some Chartruse 989. I'm going to go right into the middle areas, and I'm blending right into those other colors. Kind of cheat coloring right now, so bear with me. And now I'm going to go back in with the 988 Marine Green. And I'm going to darken this up, and I'm going right into those other colors. And then one last time, I'm going to go with my 912 Apple Green. And I'm blending right into that. Alright, I did do some extra components like this over here, and I did that with 1098 Artichoke, and then I just did it a little darker around the little knots there to give it additional shadow, but it was all with the same pencil. And then I did that in the same blues that I did over here. And then at the bottom there's that pineapple, and I did that the same way I did the leaves. So it's like green and artichoke. All right, let's see where we're at. So this is what it looks like so far. And I'm going to get the pan pastels, and I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, for those who do not have pan pastels, these are what it looks like right here. This one is Violet, 470.8 violet tint, and this one is 470.5 violet, and those are some purple pan pastels, but they can be rather pricey, so I wanted to show you another option if you don't have pan pastels. I got these from Michaels. They are Jane Davenport's pastel palettes. This one is called Chilled, and this one is called Lit Up. I think I have a third one around here somewhere, but these are a really inexpensive way to get, you know, a type of pan pastel. They're not the same as those, but they're pretty close. And the palettes have, you know, quite a bit of color range in them. They kind of look like eyeshadow palettes, but they work very similarly to the pan pastels. I really wanted to do this light pan pastel here. That's the color I wanted to do, but I don't have that particular color on the Jane Davenport palettes. I have other shades, but some of them are darker or lighter, but this is definitely an option you can use if you don't have pan pastels, and you could put it, you apply it the same way. You can get these sponge tip applicators at Hobby Lobby. I do want to use my pan pastels. However, I'm going to show you if you apply, I'm doing this color here, if you apply a little bit, how it would work. So I'm just going to come to the bottom here, and you would just put it on with the applicator. See that? Now I know with the pan pastels that you can just erase them away if you don't like where it is on the paper. So I'm going to do a little experiment in the middle of my video here. Alright, so I have a kneaded eraser here, and I have an electronic eraser here. I just want to see if this will come off. I'm going to try the electronic eraser first. And it erases right off. And the same with the kneaded eraser. So generally it works exactly the same way as the pan pastels. I actually think I'm just going to continue to use this, and I noticed that I forgot this snowflake here, so I'll take care of that when I'm done. I think I'm just going to stick with these. You can also layer, so you can start with one color. Notice here, like it's kind of blotchy because I put a little more in that spot than the other spots. That's perfectly okay. That's what I want. I don't want a super solid background, but you can add like if I want to add a little bit of this pink here, you can kind of go right over top. Lighten it up. So they layer super lightly. So I'm going to continue to use this, which is again the Jane Davenport Chilled Palette Pastel, to do this image, to do this background, and I'll be back in 1 minute. I have to take a moment and give credit where credit is due. I purchased these Jane Davenport palette pastels 3 or 4 years ago. The only thing I ever did with them was swatch them out. I never attempted to use them in an application. I've always been using the pan pastels, which, to give you an idea on price, these are $6 to $8 for one color. And this entire palette is less than $14. And you get 18 colors. 18 for less than $14 versus one color for $6. I am incredibly impressed after working with it on this image, and I'll hold this up so you can see it better because the light has it faded. It was so easy to apply. It took me probably 15 minutes to do this entire page, and that's in all the little spots. You barely have to touch this, and honestly, it's not nearly as dusty as the pan pastels. The pan pastels are way more dusty in my opinion, so I'm probably going to be doing a review on this product because wow, I love it. So, and if you notice, it barely looks like I touched these two colors. I mean, this could last, I don't know how many pictures you could do with just one of these colors, like a lot. The only thing I had noticed when I was originally purchasing these colors is that they didn't have a black or a white in the colors. So that was another reason for the pan pastels. I don't know if they've changed since then. Again, it's been at least 3 years, but I do highly recommend these. And I'm going to go ahead and put a link to these palettes in the description box below, but keep in mind they don't have black or white in either palette, so you may have to get the pan pastels to offset the white and the black if you want to do particular tints. That said, this is the pink and the purple that were in there. I think it looks gorgeous. There are a couple areas that I went a little over, like here. I'm not even remotely worried about it because I'm going to take my electric pencil sharpener, electric pencil eraser, and I'm just going to clean it up on the edges like it never even existed. I will tell you, usually you have to use a fixative so the pastels don't get on paper, like the back side of this paper. So you would do that, and then you could literally color over top of them if you wanted to. You could even come in here if you want right over top of the pan pastels and take colored pencils and highlight certain areas around if you wanted to darken that up a little bit, like that, and color right over top of it. So I absolutely love working with pastels. I don't do it nearly as much as I should. It's such a quick way to do a background. And again, you can color right over top of them. And if you put the fixative on, you can still color right over top of them. It's just that the pastels won't come off on your hands. Now, I haven't noticed that much with the Jane Davenports. With the pan pastels, if I even tap this, so it's a little more, I guess, messy when you use the pan pastels. That said, this is strictly the Jane Davenports. All right, I'm going to do a couple more small things and then I'm going to be done with this image. I've had some problems with this particular pen leaking, so let's let's hope for the best. So I'm going to take a white Posca pen and I'm just going to brighten up the white around the eyes there. Make that really pop. Put a little bit on the beak here. You can even go into the snowflakes if you want and put a little there. You can highlight spots on this snowflake if you want. I'm going to try to keep this basic. I don't want to go be here. I'll be doing this forever if I try to do each and every one of these. So that's what that looks like now. And again, for the snowflakes, you can go ahead and add some stickles to them. I have turquoise and stardust. Both would look good. I'm just going to do this on one for you. And I would take this one. I think I'm going to do the blue on this one. That way they're not all exactly the same. And put a little in here. And I have a Perlin pen here. And this is great if you want something that's going to look like water drops. But I think I'm going to put a little in, I'm going to put a little in the eye there to make it a little shiny, since you've got the glitter on the outside. I don't want to take away from the Peacock. I'm not going to put a lot. It is transparent. It will dry transparent. When you first put it on, it does look like a little cloudy, but it gets clear as it dries. And again, I'll have links in the description box below for the Jane Davenport pastels, the glitter glues, the Perlin pen. All of that will be in the description box. But here's the final result. Again, as the eye dries, it will clear up. I know it looks like a tad bit foggy. Alright, so there it is, the finished peacock. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure you hit like and subscribe and turn on that notification so you're told each and every time I post a new video. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, color happy, and remember, shh, it's our little secret.